Welcome back to The Creative Lens. Today, Jake and Colton are getting into the controversy surrounding AI in filmmaking once again. Matti Haapoja is apparently sponsored by Higgsfield, and lots of people have lots to say about it. So do Jake and Colton. And apparently, there's even more drone drama ahead with new tariffs and the FCC adding even more drones to their covered list. Let's get into it.
Yo, welcome to The Creative Lens. Jake, we were talking about this off air. I will apologize in advance if I drop off because apparently there is Bring Your Hurricane to Work Day today. It's
my goodness.
So if my audio, you just hear, it's, it's not construction. It's my house floating away.
You pay a lot of money for those sound effects.
Exactly. Yeah, we're licensing
some extra lighting coming in,
Oh yeah, that'd be good. Just a little bit of, I don't even have to turn the effects on any of these lights. I just,
fantastic.
It just happens. AJ, what's up, man? Yep. Jake is already repping the Fuji hat, man.
Oh yeah. It's one of my favorite hats to wear. Speaking of people in the comments and whatnot, do you remember, what was it, like 4 or 5 weeks ago when we were talking about some lenses? I think it was the Blazar lenses. Yeah. And we had, a guy in our comments and who was like, hey, I have those lenses, and we brought him on air. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he was and we were like trying to figure it out. It was unplanned. And we were like, send me a DM. We'll like send you an invite to come onto the stream. He was talking about that new anamorphic zoom that Blazar was releasing, which I haven't heard a lot about either since we brought Ethan was his name, and he came on and
So I'm at Film Tools 2 days ago for a shoot to, get some stuff for a shoot that I had yesterday. And I grabbed the dummy battery that I needed. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me just look at the Canon, R6Vs since I'm here. And
the worst thing to tell yourself to do it. Let me just wander into the camera section. Yeah. That never ends
I was in the camera section already. So, it didn't hurt. I got a sales associate to help me out. And we were, chatting and looking at it. He's like, what about the C50 and so I was looking at that. He was telling me some things like that. And then another, filmmaker, a guy in the store came over and we started talking. It's like, oh yeah, I have the C70, the C50 and, doing this, the things I like about it. I was like, oh, okay. What about this? What about that? And we're just talking, shooting the shit. I was like, that's really cool. I like this dude's vibe. And so of course, what do you do in LAU network? You're like, hey, let's just exchange it. Like, let's exchange numbers. And I go, yeah, I'm Jake. Cause I hadn't even introduced myself yet. I was like, I'm Jake. And he's like, I'm Ethan. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, you look really familiar. I was like, no, I mean, I don't know the guy. I'm like, okay, how does he know me? And I was like, does he know me by my podcast? I'm like, am I actually going to run into somebody that I know from my podcast? Like, this is weird. Only to then, and I'm like, I mean, I have a podcast that we talk about film stuff. And he's like, Blazar lenses? I was like, no way. It is freaking Ethan, who we had on the show in Film Tools.
That's nuts.
Out of literally all the days to go to Film Tools, all the hours in the day, I stayed an extra 20 minutes to, talk about cameras, that I was at the cameras, that he walked up to the cameras and willing to talk to me. There were other people in the stores. No one else talked to me. And he came up to me to talk to me.
And here's the other smallest percentage. You're both Canon people, which is like a dying breed. So,
100%.
You're talk about the new FX5, then you're going to get a line of people to talk to you. But Canon
So, running into people in LA about, at Film Tools. So, if anybody's watching this and they're at Film Tools, let me know. I don't live too far away. I'll come and join you.
Now, be careful. You'll just end up spending a lot of money there. I can't leave Film Tools, especially. Like, you can't leave there without buying some, because you walk through all the cool grip stuff first. And then you get to, it's a mess. It's an easy way to spend a couple $100 on accident.
Oh yeah.
And that's crazy. Awesome that you were like ran into somebody that we talked with
on the show
community,
Yeah. Again,
so we'll get into we get into some not cool parts of the community. Apparently, we're like in Avengers Civil War at the moment, but
There's
we'll get
definitely
into that in a
some
second.
drama this week.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that is not drama, I was like trying to put this show together, and I'm gonna be a little pessimistic today, Jake, and I'm gonna need you to help lift me out of the ditch of pessimism that I've been sitting in right now. And so that's your job. That's gonna be your job.
Okay.
In comments, you guys are either gonna help agree with me and dig me deeper, or you can help pull me out together. But I was looking for something interesting. So here's one interesting story. We covered the Ultra. Apparently the Luna Pro or is launching today. So if you guys are following that, I don't know if anybody is still in the market for these gimbal cameras. You know, we've had a full summer of them, but this is apparently coming. And it looks like it's got the same removable screen, which is cool. That they should carry over. The weird thing about this one, so we won't touch on it a whole lot, I don't have a whole lot to talk about, is they're choosing for only a Chinese launch right now. So it's only launch, because I was looking for our stuff. And so here you go right here. This is a China only launch. Globally, you know, Petapixel saying in the next month or two, unlike the Luna Ultra, which was just like, hey, boom, dropped it overnight just to kind of surprise DJI. But this will be interesting. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this? Like, do we need another gimbal camera? You know, they're doing the
I think
dynamic range.
This is the Pro, which is the dual lens, if I'm not mistaken.
No, no, you got that. Because see, look, here you go. That is this. The Pro will be the single camera. They already released the dual lens. That's the Luna.
That's what I'm so confused about.
Yeah, that's this one.
About this.
The Ultra, we already covered and have talked about at nauseum. So this one is just the single lens version. You know, it's the Pocket 4 or the Pocket 3. It's just before we had all these dual lens things. This is what we were using.
So, you know, I don't know. You know,
I think you're going to get 8K, which is, if we're talking like some interesting specs, 8K up to 60.
Yeah. So, I mean,
again, this is another camera that can't do vertical.
That's the only point, though. But if you scroll down again, where, you know, Petapixel is saying, like, you know, that no, too much. Whatever. They're aligned in saying that 8K footage that you can retain that 4K vertical, right? Yep. So you're still cropping, which in my opinion is like, it's fine. Like, look, I think it's if you're wanting to shoot for YouTube and like, you know, long form YouTube, but then also that you have your TikToks, obviously that's going to be a better way of doing it. I don't know why the vertical integration of the gimbals has been on the Mavics for 7 years, 8 years now. You know, I don't know why it's not, because those gimbals are the same size, if not smaller than these, the camera and gimbal situation, you know. So I don't know why it's not on, and even just the DJI stuff, like it continues to baffle me that they don't have that setting. And
AJ, just so I'm seeing it too, 4K, you're still like, you already kind of have, that's what Petapixel's talking about here, and Jake was saying too, is like you already have 4K vertical. You just have to crop your vertical in from 8K. So you take half of the resolution off, and that's 4K vertical. What I want, what Jake and I are talking about, is the camera to actually natively turn vertical. So you get your full resolution, because if you can turn the camera and it's an 8K camera, then you should have 8K vertical, right? You should just be able to pick.
But also just from a framing standpoint, as we all know, as horizontal shooters, as you know, DSLR, mirrorless, and cinema shooters, like it looks different when you crop from, because you frame it differently because of headroom. We had a conversation ad nauseum a couple episodes about the framing of vertical, and it's a different vibe. So, you know, I mean, we can continue to bitch and moan about
it's why, just like you said,
it's baffling.
It's just confusing that is a a piece that missed R&D this cycle around. So maybe next cycle through, they'll figure out how to turn the camera. It's not the end of the world. And like AJ was saying, like if you get 4K, then you have a deliverable that's usable. It's just the framing and the usability. And honestly, if we skip this and go to open gate and you can just pick, that's just as good. I think we were talking last week, Jake, right? That my thought was dynamic range is the new protein of camera marketing.
Yeah.
But somebody in my comments was like, no, it's open gate. So and now I can't unhear that. So that is the protein. Maybe
but I think
one is
open gate is
gluten-free.
an actual solution to that issue of like, can you shoot vertically and horizontally? Yeah, it's newer, but like to me, it's a viable solution to an issue that is an issue for us in the industry compared to dynamic range, right? Which is like, all right, that's not really an issue, you know, or certain things.
They're
like,
buzzwords. I mean, my thought is they're all tools that you can use, which is great. Dynamic range is arguably more important than what your sensor is because that is how much information you can capture. But it's a buzzword. You know, we'll get into Justin Phillips, but he put out a YouTube video kind of complaining about how the Pocket 4P is touting 17 stops of dynamic range and then comparing it to an ARRI. Those are very different cameras, you know. So one's using it as a buzzword, one is just a cinema tool that you're using for all of the reasons why you would shoot on an ARRI. Like those are not comparable.
Yeah.
So that's just an open gate similar, right? Like open gate is a buzzword that can sell more cameras. If you're using the tool,
it's different and it's new. It's different, even though, you know,
don't talk to panty shooters about,
even though it isn't new, which is
right.
the rest of my sentence, Colden.
Yeah. I was going to say that's every time you said, well, it's a new thing. I'm like,
Sony, you know, it's new for these guys. And so they're like, woo.
Yeah. Well, in fairness to Sony, they haven't done a lot of new since like the A7S.
No.
They've kind of iterated on everything that they've done.
You've got other things to bitch and moan and complain about on today. Today's episode is the rant episode, I think.
Today's episode, well, yeah. I wanted to bring it up last week because I was digging this hole of just FAI. Man, I've been so fed up with the sales pitch of AI. And I think one thing I talked about, so we'll break it up a little bit, and I do want everybody in the chat's thoughts as well. But I talked about this with Todd, where whoever's marketing for AI is doing a really terrible job because there's no other, like, obviously that's one person, or they've just prompted Claude to market for them. I don't know. But the difference, like, it's an insane proposition to take two vowels, stuff them together, and then call any kind of data processing that has, you know, any type of technology the same two letters out of your alphabet. It's insane to me because there's to me innocuous, not super threatening artificial intelligence that's just a better Google search. Like ChatGPT is pretty good at, hey, take these 3 articles and kind of give me a summary about that. Or, hey, spell check this email for me. It's just check through the grammar, right? It's just a better paperclip from Microsoft Word 97.
Exactly.
That's not the same as flux capacitor 97. That's like, you don't need to make a video anymore. You can just prompt it. And so then, and I'm sorry, this is a rant. I'll let you in just a second. But the amount of promises that we've been made on how great the gamut of AI is supposed to be, all I've seen are we can't buy an SSD anymore. You can't buy computer prices. Apple's jacked all of their stuff up because everybody's got to buy these data centers. Outside of that, everybody's electricity is going up. So where's the improvement for my life? And that's okay. Jump in because I could just rant this for an hour.
No, I mean, I want to go back to the point where that you were making earlier. It was interesting because I saw a video where somebody made a spec ad for In-N-Out, right? In-N-Out doesn't do any TV, doesn't do any, like they're like an OG Tesla who they just don't do ads. And I was like, and I was like, is this AI or is this great CGI? And I was just like, and then I saw at the bottom, then, you know, I looked at the comments and it's like, yeah, created in Seed Dance or Higgsfield. I don't know, one of the AI things. It was an AI spec. And I was just like, because you could have shot a lot of that. You could have made the entire commercial actually for real. And yes, it would have been a lot of work and a lot of green screen, a lot of CGI, but it's like the blurring of the line even of like CGI versus AI. Like it's a weird thing. And so, but there's on the flip side, very funny memes of like my mom checking with me to see if this video is AI or not. And, you know, you see the guy walking and looking at the phone. It's like, really, Mom? And then it cuts to the video and it's a horse riding a scooter down a street, like holding the scooter, pedaling.
Yeah.
You're like,
definitely not.
And, you know, I send it to my mom and she's like, yeah, that is totally me. But it's an interesting, you know, it's an interesting space because, you know, it is getting better and better. Like there's an entrepreneur who talks about it and he says AI will never be worse than it is today.
That's fair.
And it is like, it's going to get better.
What's your definition of worse?
In the sense of like, it's only going to improve. Like in the sense of like,
what's your definition? That's, and we can get into that.
But like
because what are you improving? That's kind of where I've asked is like,
it's task.
Whatever
its task is to do. Look,
because it hasn't solved cancer.
This is
all it's done is like, look at, you can make this horse riding a scooter. Like,
well,
to me, that is the lowest tier.
Well, supposedly, no, there are, you know, in the medical space that it has been able to diagnose whatever. My point is, I agree with you to an extent where I believe that like two philosophies, which we've talked about many times, but I'll say it again for the new episode, is one, I adhere to the fact that AI makes dumb people feel smarter and makes uncreative people feel creative. And then two, I believe that as creatives, we should use AI to help us do the other shit that we don't want to do so that we can be creative. And, you know, it goes back to the Seth Rogen clip, which is if you want to write, be a writer. Don't have AI write for you because you're not writing. You're being a prompter thing. You're not actually being a writer. The same way it's like, oh, well, my AI actor was in this movie. Well, you didn't act in it.
Right.
AI acted in it, and it wasn't you. It was just your face.
It's also AI didn't act in anything either. But AI put together ones and zeros, but there's no humanity and no emotion. And so all you're doing, we'll get into this in a minute, I guess. That's
my thought in terms of it. Now let's the actual, you know, cost benefit analysis of it.
Well, and I'll just here are a couple of graphs to prove my point. Nothing's better than a visual for this. This is just NVMe drives, a 4 terabyte drive over the last 18 months. So this is the cost that we've paid creators, filmmakers, people running small creative agencies. For us, as you know, this is our cost that we've paid into. And again, at what point is there a benefit that is usable outside of just slop video? And that's what I'm, you know, here's another one. Here's SSD drive, or no, sorry, NVMe rewind. This is RAM graphed out over the last couple of months. How much it's cost. Yeah, how much it costs for just RAM.
Jesus.
So there's the cost, and that's, and like you could put, and here's one more, because this is where I go in the rabbit hole of like, good Lord, man, where's the benefit of it? This just came out here a day ago. where Sony's now, we just got the FX5. Sony has just announced that they're increasing the price of the FX3 and the FX6.
5-year-old
Same
cameras.
thing. Same reason Apple did it. Same reason Blackmagic has done it. Same reason everybody's done it, because the parts are more difficult to come by because the data centers have bought up all the parts. And it's the same reason why that other chart exists, why we can't buy SSDs. So the difference here is like, so here at launch, the FX6 or FX6 was $599. They've raised it to $669.99, and it's only going to go up more. They're talking about a 25%. Let's see, statement
20% by nearly
20% for the FX3 and 10% for the FX6. So these prices don't even reflect, like this down here that's just over the last year. It's going to go up even more.
I mean, it goes to show you that, you know, we as in the creative space need to start charging more. Like we're going to have to start charging more because.
So it's just hyperinflation of all the things, but where's at least like most technology, and this is where I just struggle on a regular basis. Most technology deflates prices. The next best thing to come out makes the next thing cheaper. All this is doing is making everything more expensive. So it hyperinflates. So again, that's kind of the thesis of this whole rant today. But like, where is the actual real improvement for my life after paying higher electric bills because of these data centers, higher solid state SSD drive prices because of these data centers, higher camera prices because of these data centers? Like, so I can generate a video on Higgsfield of me riding a dragon? Like, where's the actual benefit? And that's what's frustrating to me, is we've lived this cycle, and maybe there are, I guess the pessimist in me is going, they're building a new social network that is this thing. And they're calling it AI, and they're going to tout how great it's going to be, the same way Facebook was going to connect everybody. It's just that dopamine hit. To me, all I've seen over a year of AI progress, and again, like, there's a huge difference between AI spell checker and mass AI tools. And these, you don't need a full data center for check this email for grammar and spelling. That can exist on a model on your phone, and you can have 80% of ChatGPT in a very small LLM model. I'm talking about the data centers that are requiring us a 1,000% increase in SSDs. Where's the value? How is that making something better?
It'd be interesting to look at like how much of which, I don't know if there's a study on it, but it would be an interesting
There's no
study.
kill switch. Yeah, man. Giovanni's saying there's. I get you. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, I was just gonna say, well, it's an interesting. I would be interested to see the study in terms of like what is the ratio of AI token usage, right? Because we're talking about in this, you know, video and photo generation,
Sure.
right? But like, how much of it is vibe coding? How much is that like, is it Higgsfield? Is it like, which of these companies, like what is their majority of their usage being made on? Like, for example, you know, Claude, which doesn't generate images. Like it generates graphics and HTMLs, but like it doesn't do video or photo generation.
Right.
Right. It's not something that it can be used for. Grok and ChatGPT obviously both can. I don't know if Perplexity does, but like it's a very interesting. To me, I would be actually fascinated to be like, what is like the pie chart of AI usage in terms of like where is the most token usage? Because great, these data centers and all this RAM, all this SSD memory, like all of this, you know, infrastructure. But what is that infrastructure being used on more than? But
that's my question.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be an interesting rabbit hole to go down, which we are not going to go on live.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but here's like, and finding that study would be interesting. If anybody has links, I'm happy to read that stuff. Here's a random one that came out about a month ago because Meta released their Q2 earnings. I think it was Q2. 73.7 trillion AI tokens in a single month, which is the equivalent of 221 million spent. And what is Meta? I mean, they're far bigger than I am.
200 million. So $200 million spent, right? But like, how much is of that? This is, again, to me, I always have to look at comparable, numbers, comparable figures. Right. Like, okay, 200 million, is that 80% of their budget that they spent that month? Is that 2% of the budget that they spent that month? Like, we don't know. It sounds like an enormous number, right? But if that's where, like, I always have to go remember, like, if you're making $5 million a year, you're a small business. Like, you don't become a medium business until you're making, like, I think it's $100 million. But we don't know that until we have comparable numbers. And so I'm not, this is not in defense.
You can defend. I said, I need somebody to pull me out of some of this.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that this is in terms of similar to the what was it, DJI ad, right? In terms of like reporting, like, okay, great, accountability and reporting, as we talked about with Jacob Owens.
Yeah, there's
an aspect of like, what I like to do is make sure to look at comparable numbers. So, okay, great. Yeah. There's that. But what does it mean to compared to anything? We can't compare it. So
the hard part for me is,
but like, that's why your
difficult.
This was why your graphs were great. Yes, look, prices have doubled in the last 12 months. Prices have tripled in the last 12 months. Like, we have comparable. Look, things are more expensive.
Yeah,
that is the truth.
And that's where I look at, like, the things that seem to be in front of our eyes are things like Meta can spend $220 million a month on tokens, but didn't get $220 million better. Like, their revenue didn't generate, they didn't generate that. That was a burn. And on top of that, it just makes, that is such a massive number, but it affects us a lot more, SSD prices a lot more than their 221 million. Like, yes, that is a crazy number. And it's not nothing because their revenue missed this last year or this last quarter. I don't know all of the details, but like, you're spending my thing is just like return on investment. When,
of course,
you're spending all of that money, are you getting that return? Is somebody getting that return? Or are we just getting played? I know I can only speak because we're in this market and this profession and this expertise. Sure feels like we're getting hurt. I'm not finding, my SSDs have gone up 500%, 600% in the last 18 months. I don't have 800% increase in revenue due to AI. I can't point to 800% revenue because of that.
And I think that's the phase we're in right now. There's another entrepreneur that I was listening to that, he's like, look, AI is great and all, but if you don't see your top line moving up, you're just, having fun. You're not actually making more money. And he was very blunt and blatant about it. He's like, look at your top line. If your top line is not increasing, what are you doing? Right. And like, is it actually making you more money? But then there was a buddy of mine, right, who I looked at, like, he was using AI. He's CEO of a startup and he's vibe coding stuff, but he's like, the cost, like, for him, and I'm just going to say, this was a pro of it, was like, he's able to vibe code aspects of his business that would cost for somebody to, if you were to pay out somebody to do it, like literally $100,000 that he was able to do himself and have the time, not only the time back and the time reduced in terms of back and forth and whatnot, but then also is exactly how he wanted. Then he does have a small team of engineers and programmers to take what he did and make sure it actually like is
Audit it.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. And implement it correctly. Like, great. Here's the shell. Here's the idea. Now good. Make sure it's all good. And which I think he's doing it the right way. And so he's been able to save like literally like $100,000 in his startup because of it. And so
I think that audit switch,
market.
we can talk about the difference, because we're biased here in the filmmaker world, like, because
Sure.
that's our business. And I can say, oh, well, it's fine if you use it over there, but it's kind of the same as the coders saying, oh, it's fine if you use Higgsfield to generate videos and skip making movies.
Mhm.
You know, so I take what Matti Haapoja did very personally. I can see use cases for coding because it feels like a more direct evolution of the technology. But at the same time, I've seen those reports of you get somebody who actually is is really a competent coder to take apart whatever Claude wrote for you, and it's a mess. But I do think there are, you know, again, it's like maybe that is the evolution of the coding process, because it is literally just ones and zeros. What Claude's writing is ones and zeros. What you're asking it to do is ones and zeros. What the human's writing is ones and zeros, basically, when you're coding. But again, I'm speaking from such a naive place in that profession and that expertise. And I'm sure somebody that is, you know, 20 years into coding and watching this develop has very different and probably similar to how I feel about Higgsfield and Seed Dance and all these other companies spending. The one thing I will say, though, about companies spending is it feels like the more companies are willing to just pump a lot of dollars into their advertising, the more fishy the product feels to me, the weaker the foundation.
It's an interesting combo. So with that, there was some controversy this week with Matti Haapoja.
Yeah, man. We have a lot of clips here. So I don't know. And Jake, I'll ask you, like, jump in and tell me to cut it off, because some of these clips are long and I want to let them.
Well, we'll discuss.
But if you guys didn't see this is, in my circle, at least on my feeds, this was a lot of drama. So a couple of days ago, Matti posts this, and I'll have my comments, but here's what he posts. Let's go through it.
This might be the 5D Mark II moment of AI filmmaking. Digital cameras democratized filmmaking for everybody, and it was really the 5D Mark II that kicked it off. AI is democratizing big budget Hollywood movies for everybody.
I think sci-fi movies, crazy locations, props.
Post-apocalyptic would be another hard one to do. Or full fantasy land, riding whatever this thing is. Ideas that normal filmmakers like you and me could never even think about because we don't have $100 million. Higgsfield AI made a movie with Seed Dance 2.5 that I think every filmmaker should watch because it will open your eyes to what's now possible. It's called the Cully Hill Boys. They licensed image and likeness of real people. They had a real script. They had real filmmakers working on it. And the budget, $2 million. It's because of incredibly talented, creative filmmakers and AI that this movie exists and doesn't cost $100 million. What's cooler, they actually released the whole project, all their assets, the prompting, the generations, everything they used to make this movie on Higgsfield AI. Now, I still think that hybrid filmmaking is the ultimate best way to go, where we're still using traditional filmmaking tools.
I got enough.
All right, so I'll give you my thoughts, or do you want to go first?
You give me yours. I got thoughts.
So, as somebody who loves sci-fi, who loves big budget films, you know, it's very interesting because it is intriguing. You know, even just the simple shot of him in the car and getting to see that sci-fi world in the background, how much easier that is to didn't have to rotoscope it, didn't have to build it, generate it. Like, you just one click button and it works. I'm like, as a young filmmaker, I go, ooh, that's kind of cool. But then you go look at The Odyssey. You go watch that movie and you go, the giants were real people and they put 7-foot stunt actors in that. And then they put 5-foot stunt actors in the Matt Damon, and as the, Odysseus's men. And they shot that forced perspective because they had a 2-foot height difference. And there's something unique and special knowing that everything in the Odyssey was freaking practical. The pig scene, fully practical. And like even the whirlpool that they have. Yes, there is CGI in it in the sense of, but they made a real whirlpool. How did they do it? They put a bunch of jet skis going around in a circle to create a whirlpool, then green screen or just then rotoed them out and, CGI'd it in to enhance it. And the thing that I think the issue with the AI is that it's if you don't focus heavily on story, no one's going to care at the end of the day. People want to watch great stories. And that's my opinion in terms of like, so I don't know. I see the pros and cons of it because I go, I hear stories about Michael Bay and James Cameron being like, we can't greenlight movies. There's no budgets for movies now. But then you see Kane Parsons and Curry Barker being amazing with no money.
Right.
Doing great films and it's great stories. And so I think there's an aspect of just, it has to come down to great storytelling, great script writing on the TV. And look, can AI help execute to make certain things easier? Yes. Unfortunately, yes. But it's not going to get that human emotion and that human element ever. And will it fully take over filmmaking? People will and are making feature films, television shows, graphic novels, the whole nine. But will any of those ever compete with The Odyssey, with any of the great works of art? I don't think so.
Yeah, I appreciate that take. My issue is
I just saw the
on a
comment.
lot of it. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen the Odyssey. So did you spoil a whole bunch here?
Well,
I know
if you hadn't read the book in 3,000 years,
you had your option. You had your opportunity to. But okay, my issue, especially, so take somebody like, I just think it's funny. There's a lot of comments. We can go through everybody's commentary on it. We have our own. My inherent issue is the act of prompt generating is not the same as filmmaking. Filmmaking is a community and a team, and you're problem solving a lot of different things. You are telling a story, but it is about a community. Maybe it's only 6 people that make your short film, but that is get off the couch, have an idea, go make that idea with real people and execute that and problem solve as you go. The idea of sitting on your couch and typing something into your computer feels very different to me. And having Matti as somebody who has built a brand from selling products and cameras and like knickknacks of all the things that you need, all the gear, to then go and say, you don't really need any of that. Just generate it, sit alone in your, computer room and just type it out. And then it's good enough. That stuff to me feels disingenuous. And it just, if you're a coder and you can be like, look, we can take some of the filmmaking market share. Okay, I guess if you're a filmmaker who has 1 million followers of other people that enjoy the art of making films, you just took the bag, dude. The other thing that I think and other people have pointed this out as well, is it's just theft. It's good theft, and it's repurposed in the right way. You know, if you wanted to steal somebody's song and pass it off on Instagram or on YouTube back in the day, you'd slow it down by you drop the pitch. Maybe if you wanted to copy a clip, you'd reverse the clip. Okay, like there were ways of getting around it, but you were stealing, right? So all they've done, because this is this not the Blade Runner car and scene repurposed for him? Is this not
Mix of that and Fifth Element?
yeah, exactly. Is this not Walking Dead? Is this not the never ending story, but like with a weird, messed up thing? It's just theft of other good ideas that were brought to life with real people, whether it was CGI or not. And that's where the big difference is like CGI still involved people and artistic decision. This is just theft. To me, all this looks is theft. And I can't unsee that. So that's, you know.
And that is the issue that I definitely know that, you know, we're running more into is literally the degradation of the art appreciation of our culture. You look at the
community, get off the couch and go do something with some friends. I mean, look at what Kane did. Look at what Curry Barker did, just making videos with his friends. This is the hilarious, like the irony. A lot of people were pointing this out in Maddie's comments. It was like, this is his company that he's built, Human Video Co. The irony of selling Higgsfield while also saying we're the human video. I'm not the first one to point that out, but like that's a little ridiculous and ironic. And Justin Phillip is the one who I think has gone, and I like his stuff a lot. I do think he's one of the OG kind of filmmakers on YouTube and does a lot of work. He is credited and has worked on The Chair with Curry Barker. So he's done shorts. I mean, he works a lot, but he posted this just, and same
movie
ideas
that he
here.
references is an entire film, not just one or two shots. Here's my main issue with this whole video from Matti, right? Because he says, yeah, it's just about another tool to help us so we can get a shot we couldn't normally get. Well, if that's what it was about, that's what you would have shown us. You wouldn't have shown us how you got to ride in the Blade Runner car or ride on some heinous version of the Never-Ending Story or, you know, do your own heinous version of The Walking Dead, right? This is all plagiarism. You wouldn't have shown us plagiarized shit. You would have shown us how you used it to get a shot you couldn't get on a movie that you were actually doing. But you weren't doing a real movie. You're doing an ad for another movie that the entire film was created using an AI generator. You're the hype boy. You're the ad. You're the commercial. You're the face of this AI shit. So don't sit there.
Yeah. I mean, well, right now, I mean, we were talking about this offline yesterday, but just Matti right now is being in my look, I've watched Matti on and off since the Peter McKinnon days. Obviously, Peter helped put him on a little bit like Drake in The Weeknd, right? You know, they're kind of OG came up together and whatnot. And, you know, Matti helped produce what's his face? Is Daniel another YouTuber's Danny Gervitz's feature film. Matti helped produce it, you know, and maybe it's, but right now, all I see from Matti, you know, we put the show together every single week, and every single week I see another Matti Haapoja video posting, selling something.
Just taking money and selling.
And look, we're to divert this conversation just a little bit, but I think that it's a very interesting thing, especially as artists, where we're like the balance between being an artist and an influencer. And they are two very different jobs. They are, right? Yeah. Like being an artist is you're making art. Where you and I have always gone back and forth. It's like, we want to be the guy who's working on set. We don't give a shit if we're getting paid from these brand companies. Granted, we're small, but like, as we get bigger, it's like, the goal is not for us particularly to be an influencer. If it makes sense, if it's aligned, great. But we're happy. We want to be working on sets and making great works of art, and work our way up to be making great works of art, or just even working professionals. Great. We're working on a great podcast. We're working on a great great, working with great clients, making great content and great projects. And I think it's very interesting to see, having seen Matti, where he's just done a lot of ads, and it feels like a female with clothing or with makeup, and like, hey, check out this new thing. Hey, check out this new thing. Hey, check out this new thing. And look, no hate on him to, go get that bag. That's how he's feeding his family. If that's the business model he's doing, that's what he's doing. Okay, great. But like, it's an interesting, it's an interesting thing, because he came up like the rest of these guys on YouTube, either educating or showing people how to do things, and going a lot more now into the, like, I don't mind all the camera reviews and the camera promotions, but yeah, this one feels like a gut punch.
A little bit, yeah. And since you brought up Peter McKinnon, this was one of my favorite comments on his video, which is like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. But Matti is when you order Peter McKinnon from Temu.
Oh, I mean, even
which is,
yeah, and even up above, followed on Matti and Sam Colder in the same week for pushing.
Oh yeah, I've got more comments to go into. Like, we can jump into some of these, but it was not kind. I think the hard part is, and like, again, small potatoes, but I just put out a lens review. Took me 3 weeks between shooting stuff, testing these lenses. I didn't get paid for it. They didn't send me the lenses. I bought the lenses, but I wanted to be able to put that out and put it together. 3 weeks of work. What would you charge a client for 3 weeks of work, Jake? Like, I get wanting to get paid for some of this stuff, but I also think that there has to be, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just literally, here's the line drawn in the sand. Some of these guys that are creatives or filmmakers, I mean, I don't count that as a filmmaker, but they're just advertisers. They have no moral compass of what money they'll take. They'll take money from whoever's going to pay them. I'm sure Higgsfield paid a ton of money to Matt. I'm sure it was a great bag for that. But to me, I find more value in people, because this is the hard part about what we do. It's a business, but it's also an art form. If you're a musician, it's a business. You got to make money. You got to feed the kids. You put food on the table, pay your mortgage, pay your rent, but it's also an art form. And so I think we get a little defensive on that it feels less of a just technical business decision. Like, I can't write it off as just him shilling for AI in this way, because that's just a business decision. He made a bunch of money for it, because it's an art form that we all care about.
And we're fighting for it. It is really, it's a fight for it. You see guys like Nolan, like Tom Cruise, like these guys are going to war for this art form, putting their lives, like, I mean, there was a video, I forget where I saw it, but like, talking about how like Tom Cruise literally is putting his life on the line every movie, doing some crazy stunt for our enjoyment.
For the art form. I mean, he enjoys what he does. He gets paid really well for it. Like, it's a little bit of all the things, but
he doesn't have to, but he wants to do it for the art form of it, and to make sure that the film itself is unbelievably enjoyable, for the audience. But again, Nolan, why is he doing this? It's for the audience. Yeah. Like, what was it? There was somebody, like, I was like a producer breaking down. He's like, the theatrical run, you don't make the bulk of your money there. He's like, you make the bulk of your money on like DVD sales, streaming. Like, that's where you make, that's the secondary sale. Like, you're just trying to break even at the theaters. And Nolan pushing for theaters is technically losing money, in the scheme of things. And so it's like, these guys, at the end of the day, the great artists care about the art forms. And, it's just kind of like, just like, what are you willing to stand for?
Yeah. Well, and AJ says it's all about the human contact at the end, and emotion wins every time. And I'll give you an opposite to that, but again, where the human element is the important part, why I have an issue with somebody like Matti, or just not even Matti. Matti got paid a bunch of money to shill for a company that has a bunch of money to throw out at creators right now to try and get them to use their AI. Fine. I understand it. I don't like it. Bill Lawrence directed Scrubs, right? Famously, the
Created
last
Shrinking
season.
and Ted
Oh yeah,
Lasso.
yeah. But we're in the past right now, Jake. Because
I'm just saying, I'm just giving context. If you know, the man is still working. He created a small show recently called Ted Lasso.
Yeah. So Bill Lawrence famously, like at the end of Scrubs' life, was kind of struggling to keep it on network. They got moved a couple of times. They bumped from NBC to ABC. The last season of Scrubs was not great. They lost some players, some actors that were really important. They had to kind of rewrite this story, and it wasn't awesome.
Season 9 was awful.
He had been but he had been asked, why did you do that? Why did you ruin these characters for us? Why did you ruin such a great long run for us? Because we've grown up with these characters. And his answer is, my loyalty and my relationship with my crew that's been with me for 12 years, shooting all of this, meant if I could get this sold for one more season and written for one more season, all of them had jobs. All of them got to go home and feed their kids. So it made more sense for me, even though I knew it wasn't my best work.
Man. Fuck, dude.
But that is a business decision with a really shitty ending to a TV series I loved. But he did it again for the human crew. And that just, to me, there's another point in this. Is not just you sitting typing at your keyboard trying to cut as much money off of the budget as possible. It's about building that community. And for Bill Lawrence, it was the community he built of friends that worked. The PAs had stayed with him for 5-10 years. He felt an obligation to those people to put on one more show if he could get it sold. And so there's the business decision, but still about the people at the end of it. That's why I struggle. I got another clip.
Well, I was going to say, I always say that, you know, filmmaking is literally the only art form that requires a team. Every other art form you can literally do by yourself. You don't actually have to have anyone else, except for making a film or making a television series, where you literally have to have other people.
Yeah.
Like, even I was shooting a doc yesterday. I had to have a subject, and then I had to have me, and I brought a second person to help with cameras and lighting and whatnot. There was 3 of us.
Right.
Minimum, you have to have someone in front of the camera and behind the camera. Now with the rise of YouTube, yes, you could do it all yourself, but like, not really. If you're going to really do it all yourself, because I have friends who've tried to make feature films all by themselves, and then they were going to color it and edit. Like, you have to be a specialist in literally about 30 different things.
Right.
And the films were not that good because he tried to do everything himself. Like, you have, yes, there are exceptions to the rule. Robert Rodriguez, who can, you know, write and direct and DP and edit and compose the scores and. Okay, not all of us are him.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the best filmmakers, there's massive teams. There's no other art form that has a credit list as long as films.
Right.
So, to your point, filmmaking is very much a team sport.
Yep, 100%. And again, as AJ is saying as well, you know, you shot a short, had a whole crew for that. Can't be done alone unless you're Matti Haapoja, and then you can just go generate it, type it out on your keyboard, and you can just do it all in Seed Dance, because that's what he thinks filmmaking is. And look, like,
or
I think
that's what he's getting paid to tell people.
Right.
Whether he believes it or not, that's what he is.
That's what he's paying. He's using his
platform.
1.2 million people to push that out to. And that's just where I struggle. So I thought that this was Patrick Tommaso. I would think you probably follow Patrick more than I do, but he's come up he's gotten really popular. He covered the Odyssey. He was like one of the few creators or influencers that exactly. Yep. You know him. You know him. Yep. This guy.
He just interviewed Tom Cruise about
exactly
cinematography. Okay.
Right. So he's gotten a lot more involved in the filmmaking community. And again, I don't follow him, so I'm sure I'm butchering his background. But this was, I think, where Justin Phillip was openly and actively going to war with Matti. I think this is just a really good point where I resonate against the whole just generated in an AI thing. I think this was a good take here.
This is why I hate generative AI. Nearly every single day, I get an email from some company offering me a crazy amount of money to promote generative AI. And you know what I say back every single time?
Go fuck yourself.
For me, the joy of making things is the process. You cannot convince me that it's more fun and interesting to sit at your laptop and prompt an idea than to just go out with a couple friends and an idea and make something. I grew up playing with cameras like this. I like holding a camera in a space and looking around and going, oh, that could be a cool shot, or that's interesting. I never even thought of that. My thoughts towards generative AI are very similar to what it's like to film on a green screen or a blue screen.
We worked with green screens on Arrival for a day and a half, and I was about to kill myself. It's so uninspiring.
The truth is, though, we do need to come to terms with the fact that this shit is everywhere now. I'm fairly confident that every major studio, all the commercials you're watching, all the movies we're seeing, at some point, some form of generative AI has been used. You can't control everything that you're consuming, but you can control everything that you're creating. And if you want to make things, you want to be a filmmaker, you want to create stuff, grab your iPhone, grab a cheap little mirrorless or a DSLR camera from 10 years ago. It really doesn't matter. I consider cameras like an instrument. And what do you do with an instrument? You play an instrument. So I want you to go play with a camera. I promise you the stuff you create will be so much more interesting and enjoyable and, more importantly, fun if you actually use a camera instead of a prompt.
All right, that was good. I'm thinking we get a wide angle and then we're done.
I love it. I'm no notes.
Right. That to me is just my whole, the idea, and maybe it's this, the influencer, we talked about de-influencing last episode, not trying to sell you something, but this idea, and you mentioned it, if Matti's constantly trying to sell you something, that means he's constantly got to tell you that you have a problem with your thing that you have right now, and there's a dire need for you to get that next new thing. And if you just got that next new thing, then you'd be happy and you'd be able to make your feature film. I just feel like that's the marketing game of any type of gear, any type of, camera sales. They always have to tell you that whatever you just bought last year is now a problem. And the reason why you're not successful is because you haven't bought the newest thing yet. And his idea of like, well, I would make these great sci-fi films, but it's too expensive and too hard. So I just went and generated it instead. You can make great sci-fi movies with, I mean, the Blair Witch, I know it's not a sci-fi movie, but
Trailer.
The Blair, yes.
$6,000. It was a great script though.
Right.
Great idea. Well made, very simple, low budget. I even love Safety Not Guaranteed, $750,000, right? They had one VFX shot at the end. Only one, but it's a sci-fi film. Monsters. Gareth Edwards' very first film, $200,000. Now, his background is in CGI, but again, a sci-fi film.
Yeah.
But done it very intelligently. I mean, you look at the same thing, like look at Jaws. Yes, technically it's a thriller. It's not a sci-fi. But like, what if Jaws was an alien and not a shark? That's a sci-fi film now. It's not it's a sci-fi thriller, which is just Alien, right?
But just going out and shooting. And that's where, going back to Matti's opening line, which hilariously, I might have already closed that video. And oh no, I didn't. Here. So going back, this is kind of hilarious to me, is that he mentions that this is very small and minute. I'm not going to, take points away on Matti for this one, but
This might be the 5D Mark II moment of AI filmmaking. Digital camera.
he says this is a 5D Mark II moment of digital filmmaking.
No, of AI filmmaking.
While holding a Nikon. That's the Nikon ZR. I was like, you couldn't have found a Canon. You just reviewed the R6V.
Oh my
What?
God. That's
Like,
pretty funny.
but that's not the shade or the criticism. It's the 5D Mark II moment. We talked about this a couple of shows ago. The 5D Mark II moment got more people access to maybe slightly higher quality cameras than the camcorders that they were using. It still meant you got together with your friends and you wrote a shitty short film and you went out and made that short film, and it just looked a little bit better because it had a full frame sensor and it had a little bit shallower depth of field.
It had lenses. That was the reason why the 5D Mark II was, in my opinion, so revolutionary, is because you were able to actually put a full set of lenses on a very small body, but you couldn't do that on DV cameras. You couldn't do that on the VHS cameras. Like, you had a fixed zoom lens, and it never looked more cinema-y. But by having a DSLR, you open up to the world of kind of more cinematic. You were able to, depth of field, as you were talking about, but you had the interchangeable lens phenomenon, which was brand new to a consumer level pricing for video.
Right. But it still encouraged people to go out and do the art form. It didn't eliminate the art form. Just
100%.
because you bought it, and it wasn't the same people competing. Like, the guys that went out and bought a 5D Mark II were not also buying an ARRI Alexa or a Red One or the Panavision camera, like 35 millimeter camera. Like, those were different markets. It just gave the people that were starting out a better, higher quality starting point. But it still was the art. That's where it's almost more insulting to go and compare the 5D moment, which is what helped get me into digital cinema.
Yeah, likewise.
But to compare that to sitting on your couch generating a prompt because you just can't do a sci-fi film because it's too hard. That's what gets me the most, I think. Yeah. That's
100%.
frustrating to me. So here are a couple of other just tweets and responses. Again, it is Gerald Undone. I'm biasedly a huge fan. I loved this response. This was on Threads. Since we're talking about Higgsfield, here's my approach. And he just says, hey, I've got this great opportunity. Unsubscribe. And this a couple different times that they've reached out and tried to email him.
I want to know how much they're asking.
Unsubscribe them all. Yeah.
I
don't. I totally understand wanting to get paid. I understand. And here's the other hard part. As you build that audience, there are 1,000 people that have great suggestions on how you should monetize that audience. And I get the desire to go, okay, how can I make money off of the work that I've put in? You look at it like a long-term investment that you've built over 5, 10, 15 years. How do I monetize that? I get wanting to get paid for it. But I also get what Patrick Tomaso is saying is like, that's not the business you're in. It's also like, know your audience a little bit. To me, it's not the type of people that want that shoved down our throats. We're actively fighting against it. Here's a couple other comments that I just thought were interesting. We've shouted out Philip Bloom before. So sad to see. Where's the dislike button? Bro, look at your comments. Nobody wants anything to do with this. I'm sorry, I'm going to unfollow. Like, so it's got ratioed hard.
Yeah. I mean, and look at all the likes to those comments.
Right.
It goes to show you that.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't even look at that side, but yeah, look at that.
There's a guy I knew back in the day who was a director who, again, kind of like us, working, but, trying to make it, trying to figure out. And he's now fully in the AI filmmaking space. He's one of the big proponents of it. But look, he adopted it. That is his brand. He considers himself an AI filmmaker. He's like, yes, I used to shoot this. now I generate because I come in with a directorial view on it of like, do I want a close up, like, you know, kind of like an animation director, but that's his brand. And so my point is on the whole Matti influencing of Higgsfield and whatnot. This guy is an AI director, like, or that's what he considers himself to be. He's not like, oh, I'm also like shooting stuff for real, but and it's like, no, I make AI generated commercials and AI generated films. Like that is what I do. And
it's fair. There's an audience for that.
And that's my point. Like, fine, great. That's who you want to be. Great. But Matti wasn't that. And that's the biggest, you could say, push back from us as an audience is that like, yo, bro, you were the go figure it out. Go have an adventure. Go, like you and Peter, just go out and make stuff. Go out and shoot a YouTube video. Yeah. And then, you know, go left field. Like that's the upset.
Well, and again, it goes back to what I was saying is like, look at who's spending the most amount of money for who. And that kind of tells you what is going on a little bit. To me, the fact that they're paying these filmmaker influencers to try and get us, their audience, on board, signed up for Higgsfield to go generate your next thing. They're spending a lot of money on it. Yeah. And this was an interesting thing where, you know, I get it. I'm the first one to be defensive in my comment section sometimes. But I don't even understand this one where, you know, obviously a lot of negative comments here. AI has no place in art. So Matti responds, digital cameras have no place in art.
Oh yeah, I saw that. What?
What is
what? That was the most like that.
Can we go back to his shot about all the freaking cameras?
Digital cameras. What do you mean digital cameras have no place in art? Like that is the most illogical, like that comment in my opinion pissed me off more than this AI video.
A lot of his responses, he was apparently deleting a bunch of comments or trying to delete a bunch of comments. And then he would only respond to people either aggressively or that were like, oh, this is great. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you thought so. And like that, but that one was weird. I get that you're trying to, I think it's wild unless there's some crazy contract that we don't know about. It's bad enough if I have to make a video for you. You want to pay me $500,000 to sell my soul? I come and talk to me. We'll do this podcast again once I've got the $500,000 offer. But if he gets that and they go, okay, just make our video for us. You got 1 million followers. Go tell everybody to join Higgsfield.
Or here's a 3 video deal. You know, you're gonna have to make a 3.
But why do you have to defend them in the comments? That's the weirdest. Like, honestly, if I got that much money and I had to do it, gun to my head, go make a video about Higgsfield, I'd be like, you're so right in the comments. Like, contractually obligated, I made your video, but I think it's stupid in the comments. Like, why do you have to go and defend? I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to say this is the next art form. And it's the same way that, you know, if you were shooting on 35, there was a lot of pushback from filmmakers, from people shooting on 35 and 16 millimeter film, from people trying to shoot feature films on the 5D. So I get the argument. It's just, again, one was a smaller, cheaper version of the product and the project and the crew and it was just a more attainable version. This is sitting in your tube socks at home, just typing your sci-fi movie, and you're not generating new things. You're only stealing from everybody's content that these models have been trained after. You're not making anything new. Oh, I came up with the angle and how to push the camera in. You didn't light the scene. You didn't choose the angle. You didn't put the camera there. There's no camera there. That camera was generated from 100 million other cameras that were all copied from other works non-consensually. Anyway, yeah, AJ thinks that comment's absurd as well. Thank you, man. I agree with me and you, and he's nuts. I fully support going and unsubscribing. This was, I don't know if you saw Cam. I can't play this whole thing because it is a long, drawn out thing. But if you look in Cam's eyes right here, and I like Cam Mackey a lot. He makes great stuff. He looks so dead.
So
inside.
dead. So so dejected. Like he just lost his best friend. Like his best friend just passed away. Like,
well, because everybody's hating on these AI shills.
So it looks like there's a new Higgsfield campaign coming out with a bunch of YouTubers, and the discourse on threads and just all over the internet, people just attacking them. It's fair. It's like attack them away. But last night I posted on threads trying to help educate people that while they are attacking people for taking AI sponsorships, which once again is okay, that the real monster here.
To me, this is just comment section. Please don't come after me. I'm just trying. Please just be nicer to Maddie, but please don't come after me. It's all okay. You're doing fine.
Is the fact that you have companies like OpenAI and Palantir with super PACs that are funding politicians who are against regulating data centers and AI. And
there he goes into that.
So it's a whole vote campaign. And I get that. But you're also like, for every super PAC that's trying to get a politician in their pocket, there's also Higgsfield trying to get a creator in their pocket. It's the same. Like you're
all the same thing. Look,
you're playing 4D chess.
It's trying to get market share. Look, all these companies are just trying to get market share the same way we are.
Yeah.
The same way this podcast is trying to get market share. Like you have to, and I think the annoying thing is, again, it's what we talk about. And I was on a podcast just this morning where it's like talking about brand, right? Brand is what are you associated with and what are you known for? And the upset is when you go against what you are known for.
Yeah.
And it's I think there's a line in Hamilton. It's like, what do you fight for? What do you die for? And it's that. It's what are you willing to stand for, and what are you willing to die for? And it's like, no, and you don't have to be aggressive about it. You look at Nolan.
Yeah,
he's like, I want to shoot stuff for real. I don't care. Tom Cruise, same thing. Denis Villeneuve, all of these guys. No, I want to do it for real. Let's do it. Why not? Let's do forced perspective. Let's do, intelligent way. How do we do this? But then you see a guy like Robert Rodriguez, who was massive and instrumental in pushing green screen and, visual effects. The same thing with James Cameron. Would you say James Cameron is a worse filmmaker than Christopher Nolan? No. They've just decided to take a visual style and a visual front in the art form. So, and again, it's just going back to what we talked about. At the end of the day, all this AI generation is based off of other education and stealing, and you're not actually doing the art form.
Yeah.
You're not actually making art. So, all right.
Totally agree.
We've been at this for a while, but there's one last drama that we have to talk about.
Let's
Are we not talking about that drama this
week? I was
week?
going to say, man, we can push that because we have beat the AI thing to death, and we were going to talk about the DJI drama, but you know what, Jake? There's going to be more DJI drama next week. There's going to be more DJI drama tomorrow. I will say though, what's today? Today's okay. So we'll be back on our next show. Number 21 is going to be on the 27th on Thursday. So the big thing that we got to talk about, we'll talk about it next week, but there are new tariffs that go into effect on September 3rd.
Not bad.
All for the drones. We're going to make the drones great again, but not in China. So there's new tariffs.
You got to clip that. You got to clip that.
But that's the big issue. So if you're going to buy a drone, 25%. The crazy part is it's 100% tariff for heavy use drones, which really sucks for emergency use, agriculture, fire and rescue, like these people that need heavier
actually
use drones.
to be honest, like actually need the drones, not
Yeah.
you know, us as filmmakers. Like, great, having a drone is fun, but like, you know,
But there are, I mean, there are people, you want to talk about niches, like there are people that have built businesses and gotten, you know, gone through the FAA regulations, gotten their 107 Part B or
Oh, yeah.
whatever that. So it's still affecting business, even if you're not trying to, you know, spread fertilizer for your whole crop. Like if you're not an ag guy, you're still need it. And there's still 25, there's another 25% tariff that's being lumped on top of for consumer drones too. So we'll talk about more of that next week, but literally if you're looking to buy a drone, Jake, before next week, before September,
hit that add to cart button.
Yeah. I would assume that most of, if you have it on the shelf, it won't go up right away, but also if it's going up, nothing's going to stop B&H or Amazon or Adorama or Film Tools or whoever from just putting it up. So again, another thing that's just making life more expensive. Yeah. But yeah, we can get into that more next week. So we can have more frustrating things to talk about next week. But you know what? I appreciate you. You didn't let me go fully deep in the hole of, you brought some good points to give Matty a little bit of grace, but go on.
Yeah. But you know, I think he's after that bag. You know, I'm going to stir up some fake drama. You know, he's got, you know, debts with the Russian mob that he has to pay off. So he's got to, you know, make these Higgsfield shilling ads and then push the Canon 5R-V or R6V. Then next week, the Sony, you know, FX5. And then the week after, the Fujifilm lenses. And then, you know, and then Higgsfield.
Yeah.
You know, he's got to push it all because he's got to pay back his debts to the Russian mob.
Oh, that's a dangerous mob. If you're gonna triage your debts, you know, we can't hate Matty. He owes a lot of money.
So all that underground gambling, he's got to pay it off.
It'll do it to you. It'll do it to you.
Off.
I clip that one. That's good. That'll not start any drama or anything. All right, guys. Until the next one, Jake, thanks again for hanging out, man. And guys in the comments, thank you as always. We'll be back next week. Peace.